Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And this content, I have a feeling, is going to make you smile. I'm sure you guys are familiar that the ATF has had quite a few overreaching episodes in the last 2 years and as of late underneath the Biden administration. Well, there is nothing that happens without an unintended consequence somewhere along the line. And now we've got 3 states that are either have or are pushing for Second Amendment protection areas against federal overreach against the Second Amendment. This is something that you guys are going to want to share out. Everything is linked in the description box below, and I cannot wait to hear what you guys think about this one. And if you are new or you're a returning viewer, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and making sure your notification bell is on. We need as many of you as possible to get in here with us so we can spread the information and pass the blessing of the Second Amendment along to the next generation like we do twice a day on this channel. But my brothers and sisters, some backstory on this. We had Missouri that passed a Second Amendment protection area. This was something that the DOJ hated, and they sued, and the Obama judge basically ruled it as unconstitutional a couple of weeks ago. Well, that's not going to stop Kentucky and Ohio from joining the exact same movement. The Second Amendment protection area moves are growing state by state by state against the executive branch overreach, of which we hit a lot on this channel. Check this out, because remember, Missouri was the first one. Now I'm going to do a little refresher from last week. This is important because we are getting a trend developing. Bill would stop state law enforcement from enforcing federal gun laws. Okay, well, we've seen that before, but listen to where it's from. A bill that would stop Ohio law enforcement officers from enforcing federal gun regulations that are more restrictive than state law is drawing opposition from country prosecutors, chiefs of police, and mayors. Representative Gene Schmidt, a Republican from Loveland, called the proposed legislation a response to federal regulations she said infringes on Second Amendment rights. Of course they do, because they're going through the executive branch, through the bureaucracies of the DOJ and the ATF to infringe upon everyone's rights watching this video and not watching this video. If you can't get legislation passed, why not just change definitions of existing words that are in past law, which led Jim Jordan, who basically wrote a letter to the ATF saying, you're usurping the power of Congress, stop it. Yeah, this is not the first we're going to hear about this. But we've got another state coming because this is how it's spreading. Kentucky bill nullifying federal gun laws heads to governor's desk. Now, this is the interesting part because there's a veto. But Republicans are going to go around it because they have the votes to override the veto. That's not the only state in these great 50 states that's also overriding some vetoes. We're going to do some videos on North Carolina that's coming pretty soon next. A bill to make it more difficult for local police to enforce federal gun laws and in some cases criminally penalize them now heads to Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear's desk. Kentucky lawmakers have secured enough votes to override a veto of House Bill 153, which bans state and local law enforcement and other public officials from enforcing federal firearm regulations enacted after January 1 of 2021. That would include anything that the ATF has done under the Biden administration. Now, the reason this is important is obviously it's a SAPA move, but you've also got an override veto happening at the Kentucky state legislature. They are going over a veto. They have so much support in the Republican caucus, they're going to say, heck with it, I'm going to do it anyway. That's also something that's happening in North Carolina, which is another video I touched on a second ago. They're doing the exact same thing with the repeal of a pistol permitting requirement that came from the Jim Crow era back in North Carolina, and the Democrat won't get rid of it. Interesting how that gate doesn't swing both ways. But anyway, now I'm going to show you the actual bill because Republicans have had enough. This is an act relating to prohibiting the enforcement of the federal ban or regulation of firearms and declaring an emergency. This is what they actually said. This is the level of detail. Create a new section of KRS Chapter 237 to prohibit identified entities from enforcing federal firearm bans. Sweet. Prohibit identified entities from adopting rules, regulations, or ordinances that require enforcement of federal firearm bans. Sweet. And prohibit identified entities from allocating public resources or monies in the enforcement of federal firearm bans. Retroactive to Jan 1 of 2021. How you like that retroactive when it's thrown back on you, ATF? So basically what they're saying is you can't ban anything. You can't do any kind of rules, regulations, or new executive actions. And you also can't put Kentucky money towards it. That pretty much covers all 3, doesn't it? This is the 3rd state that we're seeing. We got Missouri, Kentucky, and Ohio now. I wonder which one is next. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I will see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.